If you know anything about my playstyle, you better believe I am full sending. The question is, does the opponent respect the damage? Welcome back to the channel. Season 22 has been pretty wild. We've seen so many new Pokemon rise up the ranks. However, when I personally saw the move update, there was one Pokemon I was like, this thing is going to be a monster. And everyone's like, are you mad? Bellossom! I showcased its power in the Great League, where it performed phenomenally well. And guess what? In the Ultra League, it's just as good, or arguably even better. The funny thing with this content creation game is if I was one of the big popular content creators and I said something, everyone would believe it blindly. As I'm one of the smaller, less popular content creators, people always cast doubts, so here we are. Once again, I'm going to showcase the power of Shadow Blossom, this time in the Open Ultra League. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, I'm going to lead my level 51, rank 4 Shadow Blossom into Tentacruel. Most grass types hate to see a poison type. Even a water poison type at that. However, Blossom, unlike a lot of grass types, has access to Leaf Blade and it is incredibly spammy. I'm able to take just 9 turns, fire off the Leaf Blade, force some chip and dip and say switch into Blastoise. I am running a double water strategy in the back to help cover Blossom's vulnerabilities of things like fire, flying and ice. Both my Pokemon are actually on Ice Beam. I would have liked to run Blastoise on Skull Bash, but I'm broke on TM, so I'm rocking with what I've got. If the TM system wasn't so busted, I'd like to run Blastoise on Skull Bash as my closer and Lapras on the save switch with Ice Beam. The opponent goes to the foul play, which has been reworked, meaning just like that, big boy Blastoise takes back switch. I am now going to realign, sending out Lapras. The opponent stays in, looking to fire off a Scald or Acid Spray. Lapras withstands the damage. The opponent then pivots out into Moltres, and already you can see why I like the look of Blossom. I'm going to fire off the Ice Beam, forcing a Protect Shield. How many grass types do you know that fancy this matchup? Well, let me tell you, Blossom is that one. It's very unlikely the opponent's going to full send a Brave Bird, so we call the Ancient Power. We're going to throw the correct 3 Bullet Seeds and the Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam instantly puts them into the red health range, meaning I can just go straight Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade is resisted, but will be forcing the final Protect Shield or cleanly knocking out. The opponent invests their final Protect Shield, commits that full Sucker Punch farm down, and Lapras hits the field of play with a 2-0 shield advantage. Lapras' Sideways are non-stab and double resisted, so I'm actually going to have to throw a charge move to knock this thing out. I'm just going to be super careful, ensuring it's still on my screen when I look to throw. The opponent pivots out, trying to make the catch onto Tentacruel. This enables me to overfarm just shy of the double Sparkling Aura. One Sparkling Aura removes Tentacruel from the field of play, and when Moltres does return, it's very swiftly going to meet the same fate. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, another very tough lead. However, you don't need to abort instantly. I like to have energy on Blossom, so I'm going to bank a charge move and then save switch into big boy Blastoise. The opponent arguably should have went for some chip and dip here, but they want to hold that energy, potentially looking to nuke Blossom. We're going to farm up, looking to fake a Skull Bash. We haven't got it, but of course the opponent does not know that. The opponent calls it's only a Hydro Cannon, but that's fine. Big boy Blastoise can just spam these at a very alarming rate. The second one forces the Protect Shield. The opponent desperate to keep that positive alignment. I am going to invest the Protect Shield here, and I'm just going to look to undertap the Hydro Cannon and force the opponent all shields down. The opponent actually make a catch back onto Weezing, and that's perfect. Blossom now gets to avoid it. Not only do we get to avoid it, we get to hard punish this Weezing with our Psywave user. Shadow and Shadow Crime, these sludges do actually add up, but we're going to be able to tank both and commit to that full Psywave farm down, even with a charge move. So if Gliscopod does return, I'm going to throw one Psywave and instantly look to knock it out. It's all going to come down to what's in the back. Does Blossom have a positive matchup? Oh baby, yes it does. Out comes Swampert. Swampert looking for that Mud Shot farm down. Getting off this Sparkling Aura is neither here nor there. It just calls off my timer, enabling me to switch back out into Blossom. Leaf Blade would have knocked out from full health. We are so quick, so spammy. We're just going to shield up whatever the opponent throws at this point. I simply do not care. Knowing I'm going to win the race to Leaf Blade number 2. And that is going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. Blossom not really finding its targets in the lead. And in battle number 3, the tough leads continue. However, this is another case, just like the Tentacruel matchup, where we're going to be able to outpace to our neutral Leaf Blade, force some chip and dip. And my gosh, look how much chip damage that does. I save switch into Lapras and out comes Feraligatr. Much like the Gliscopod we saw in the previous battle. I'm not running Skull Bash, but of course the opponent doesn't know that, so we're going to look to fake it till we make it, looking to obtain ourselves a shield advantage here in the mid-game matchup. The first Sparkling Aura goes unshielded. I look to fire off one Psywave and the next Sparkling Aura, but unfortunately overtap. However, despite this, the opponent's still going to have to invest a Protect Shield if they want to flip or keep Switch. The opponent unwilling to do that. Down goes Gator. The opponent sends out Swampert. Swampert is going to get a full Mud Shot farm down, but Switch advantage proves to be everything. Swampert can fight back with Sludge, but one Sludge is survival and they are never, ever farming me down. The opponent fires off the Sludge, go for that wham, bam, combo play, send him back out Gliscopod. We're going to bank the Leaf Blade for the road and send out Big Boy Blastoise. Rollout's damage output has been nerfed this season, but that might actually be better for me as we are going to look for a rollout farm down, leaving with double Hydro Cannons. The opponent going to fire off X's after X's at Big Boy Blastoise, hold strong, gets that full farm down, leaving with the double Hydro Cannons required. The opponent's going to be forced to shield one, as 2 will knock out the first one, goes unshielded, the second one will be forcing that Protect Shield, switch timers up, we're going to pivot out into Blossom. I could fire off the double Leaf Blade, but at this point, the easiest way and quickest way to win this battle is just shield, commit to that full Bullet Seed farm down, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, finally we see a good lead. Blossom into Feraligatr. Oh, hello Feraligatr, nice to see you nice. The opponent farms up some energy, attempt to catch onto Skeledirge. I saw an Incinerate user and arguably should have went to Blastoise, but Lapras more than holds its own here. The opponent fire off the Torch Song. Lapras withstands the damage and looks to fire off the Sparkling Aura. Sparkling Aura forces that Protect Shield, and I'm actually quite liking how this matchup's playing out. I'm going to take my shield advantage, send out Blastoise, and look to farm up on energy. The opponent fires off one further Torch Song. We're just going to go for the one shield, fire off 3 further rollouts, and then the Hydro Cannon, ensuring we've got a whole heap of residual energy good to go. You can see Blastoise already doubled up on Hydro Cannons. The opponent going to elect to let Hydro Cannon knock out Skeledirge, and out comes Pangoro. Blastoise fires off to correct one rollout and the Hydro Cannon, and it's time to show you what Blossom would do. We pivot out into Blossom, and look how much energy we've got. The opponent very quickly finds himself in Leaf Blade range. The opponent tanks the first. I don't really care if the opponent catch, but no catch attempt is made. Leaf Blade removes Pangoro from the field of play. When Gator does return, they're not going to be able to farm up, baiting with a Hydro Cannon and landing the Ice Beam. They go for the Hydro Cannon bait, but no bait. We'll be saving their fate. We've already got that Leaf Blade locked and loaded. It's going to be high Gator, bye Gator, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Guzzlord in the lead. I've used Blossom previously when Dazzling Gleam was more expensive and did more damage. Does it still one shot? Well, there's only one way to find out. We full send. Does the opponent respect the damage? Get that Guzzlord off my screen. Out comes Drapion, and we pivot into Big Boy Blastoise. The opponent going to outpace to the crunch. Blastoise tanks the damage. The opponent then pivots into Tentacruel. In this scenario, I'm not even looking to fake a Skull Bash. I just want to get off as much damage as I physically can, and I am going straight Hydro Cannon, anticipating the opponent no shield in. Blastoise able to reach the second Hydro Cannon, instantly putting them below half health. The opponent not wanting me to reach one more, opt to throw energy. I went straight Hydro Cannon in this matchup, trying to get off as much damage, putting them in a range where I can just fully sigh away farm down with Lapras. The opponent can throw whatever they like, even on Sludge Wave, it's survivable. They go for the Acid Spray bait. The opponent's switch timer finally going to pop up. They go for the combo back into Drapion, but we've got all the energy in the world. We're going to fire off the Sparkling Aura, the first one, gets shielded. Lapras going to fire off the next one, and then I'm going to look to reset this debuff, sending back out Blossom. If the opponent continue to farm up, which they do, I'm going to spam this Leaf Blade as soon as I get it, just wanting to get the damage off. The opponent invests that Protect Shield, opt to throw energy. Blossom, thank you very much for your contribution. The opponent actually fire off the Aqua Tail, hoping I'd shield. I had no intention of shielding up Blossom, and they concede the match. And we're off to a very nice 5-0 start. GG's to all my opponents. Heading into the next battle, we see our second consecutive Guzzlord lead. Last time, we was able to nuke the opponent through 2 Protect Shields, and once again, I am full sending. The question is, does this opponent respect the damage? Blossom goes 2 for 2, picking up 1-hit KOs. Out comes Typhlosion, and we save switch into Big Boy Blastoise. I didn't actually see what come out. I was spamming the switch. The opponent stays in, firing off the Thunder Punch for some chip and dip, and send out Drapion. Unfortunately, Blastoise is going to CMP tie to this move. I throw it instantly, hoping the opponent looks to throw it good timing. Unfortunately, they do win that charge attack priority, but that's more than fine for me. Blossom doesn't have too much play into the remainder of the team. However, Drapion is the better matchup for me. I'm going to fire off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade goes unshielded, rocking them deep into the red. If I survive this move, I'm going to anticipate the opponent looking to snipe, so I'm spamming the switch once again into Lapras. Right on cue, Typhlosion re-enters the arena, and we see Lapras get sent out in the 2-2 shield scenario. I was thinking, can I fully Psywave farm this down? It doesn't look like that's the case, so I'm just going to double shield here. Of course, Incinerate users are very difficult to make catches with. I can always see the Incinerate come through, so we're going to fire off the first Sparkling Aura. I'm then going to fire off the next one. The opponent is now receiving the energy for the Thunder Punch. I'm going to look to catch it on Blossom. However, if the opponent actually throw another Incinerate, we're only one Bullet Seed off the Leaf Blade, meaning Blossom is a Typhlosion counter confirmed. You heard it here first. Back up comes Drapion. They Poison Sting farm me down. We resisted. Psywave farm them down and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see big boy Blastoise in the lead. Finally, Blossom picks up a great lead. The opponent saves switch into Skeledirge this time. I do go to my rollout user. The opponent's already in enough and they instantly concede the match. GG's, I guess. Heading into the next battle, we see Florges in the lead. This is a Pokemon I wish coming in its shadow form. I think it's a super interesting pick. Now it's got Trailblaze for coverage. It did used to have Petal Blizzard, but Petal Blizzard is such an expensive, very poor damage per energy move. The opponent's very unlikely to bait with a Trailblaze, so I'm going to invest a Protect Shield here, shielding up the Moonblast, but then going to throw one Bullet Seed and the next Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade from this range should be forcing my shield back or cleanly knocking out. We're then going to Save Switch into Blastoise, attempting to catch the Moonblast unsuccessfully. Trailblaze doesn't get the same type attack bonus, so one is survivable. I was hoping the opponent switched out. They did not, and we're just going to completely sacrifice Blastoise to the Pokegods. Down goes Blastoise. Yeah, probably not my finest work, that. I should have probably instant throwed, looking to force the final protection. We send back out Blossom. The opponent throws a Trailblaze on alignment. Trailblaze is resisted, but double boosted did far more than I hoped for. We're going to farm up close to 100 energy and unleash the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade picks up the knockout. The opponent sends out Mamoswine. Blossom already well over a Leaf Blade. Going to fire off this Leaf Blade, and then I'm going to save this energy and pivot into Lapras, anticipating whatever's in the back is going to also be weak to Blossom. And right on cue, there's the second ground type. Lapras going to fire off the Sparkling Aura. Sparkling Aura forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. This is 7 Mud Slaps, so I've got one chance to land the Dynamic Punch. This is it. I think my lose-con is tanking the Dynamic Punch to the face. The opponent opts for the double Shadow Punch. Shadow and Shadow Crime. Lapras hold strong. Going to remove this Golurk from the field of play with the next Sparkling Aura. I'm going to pivot out into Blossom. This is going to force the energy off Mamoswine. I didn't actually know who won CMP here, but clearly Mamoswine has a higher attack than Blossom. However, Lapras going to be able to come in, Psywave farm down, and we take that game. Blossom is nowhere near the attack stat of Mamoswine. I looked it up. Mamoswine 177 compared to Blossom's 152. In the next battle, we hard lose lead and we're hard punished on the save switch. For those of you that like more meta Pokemon, I think Jellison's a pretty good pick in this meta. It's able to fully wall Blastoise and Lapras. The only exception would be if you see some lunatic running Lapras on his legacy move of Dragon Pulse. Speaking of which, I've got more Elite Charge TMs than I've got regular TMs, and I'm actually tempted to try out that legacy move of Dragon Pulse. Is it going to be any good? Probably not, but if you want to see it, post it down below and I'll test it out. Despite Blastoise only hitting for resisted, we're able to get Jellison into the red, and I'm just going to look to fully Bullet Seed farm them down. Knowing if I get stuck in that Weezing matchup in the end game, we're going to go for Death by Leaf Blade. Yes, they're resisted, but Leaf Blade, a very good move at 2.0 DPE. We bank all our energy, send out Lapras, and to my surprise, G-Weezy re-enters the arena. This quite confused me. I'm thinking, what the heck is in the back that you're giving up that alignment of Weezing into Blossom? I am going to start shielding here as I've got no idea what's in the back. I'm worried it could be a potential fire type, and then I'd be in big trouble. This thing has so much energy. They fire off a couple sludges, send out Guzzlord. We fire off the Ice Beam forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. I go for the wham, bam, combo play, send out Blossom, fire off the Dazzling Gleam. The first one gets shielded. We're able to reach the next one on the charge attack priority. We know this one shot. I actually missed some bubbles, which works out perfectly. I did want to undercharge this, but I'll be honest, that wasn't an undercharge. My son was actually asking me for a drink. I was playing with one hand. I wasn't paying attention. Shout out my little buddy. He's enabled me to win this battle. If you want some top tips on GBL, play with your kids, get them to nag you, and you, like me, will be stealing wins all over the place. GG's to that opponent. I know a lot of people, like me, also have a hectic house at weekends. I tend not to battle, but I did battle this Saturday and it was carnage. But I'll be honest, I got my son a Mackies for the assist in that battle. Heading into the next battle, we see Verizon in the lead. We're going to pause a turn, ensuring the Gleam lands on its intended target. Virizion, somewhat of a problematic Pokemon for this team. I'd really love to land the Dazzling Gleam. We're going to shield up the next Sacred Sword. Again, pause, ensuring Virizion still on the screen. This Gleam will inflict massive damage or force the final Protect Shield. The opponent do invest that final Protect Shield, and I pivot out into Lapras. My Lapras doesn't have the best IVs now, XLs are a thing. It's only level 41, but able to survive any one move. The opponent continued to stay in. I am going to shield up the next move. Virizion still on my screen, so I'm going to take the initiative and just knock him out with the Legacy Ice Beam. Down goes Virizion, but it's managed to get two of my Pokemon deep into the red. Out comes Drifblim. The opponent looking for that full Astonish farm down. We commit to the Ice Beam. We just about get there. And just like that, we rock him deep into the red. The opponent sends out Typhlosion. Blastoise able to survive any one move. We're going to tank this charge move. A Thunder Punch simply will not get the job done. We're going to fire off one rollout and the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon, of course, you have no doubt, easily knocks out. The opponent now receiving the energy for the Icy Wind. Icy Wind wouldn't get the job done. They commit to the Shadow Ball, but Big Boy Blastoise able to outpace, and we take that game. One of the main reasons I don't battle on weekends, my household, is me, the missus, 3 kids and 2 dogs, so I just cannot concentrate. But we're able to go on a 10-game win streak, back-to-back 5-0s. Heading into the next battle. Once again, we see Virizion in the lead. This one is the Shiny, and Shinies, in theory, do more damage. This opponent full sends a Stone Edge, depleting their energy again. We pause. Again, we miss some bubbles. That time, I wasn't even being nagged. I'm just a potato. However, we're able to reach the next Dazzling Gleam on the charge attack priority, and Bellossom forces a 2-0 shield advantage. I don't know why, I think the Fairy Bubbles are the hardest ones to swipe when you're only playing with one hand. When I actually try and lock in, I normally hold my phone in my left hand and swipe bubbles with my finger. I don't know why I can't swipe them Fairy Bubbles with my thumb. However, as we've got a 2-0 shield advantage, we send out Lapras. Virizion remains on my screen. Ice Beam picks up the one-shot. Out comes Blastoise once again. We'd like to have Skull Bash. There's no point faking it till I make it, as the opponent has no Protect Shield, so we'll just go straight for the Sparkling Aura, looking to get off some damage before they potentially buff up their defense if they're on that Skull Bash moveset. The opponent does fire off the Skull Bash, so rather than concede a farm down, as let's be real, that's all Lapras was doing, about to get farmed down, I pivot out into my own Blastoise. This could be a Skull Bash, potentially hardest hitting move left in the game. The opponent fire off the Skull Bash, and this now makes it very problematic to remove the opposing Blastoise from the field of play. It's going to take multiple Hydro Cannons. The opponent, in my opinion, makes a mistake, resetting their defense buff, and send out Lapras. I'm worried that this Lapras may also have Skull Bash, so I'm going to attempt to catch it on my own Lapras. It's going to take them 19 Psy Waves to reach the Bash. When they receive the energy for the Skull Bash, I attempt to catch unsuccessfully, but the opponent reluctant to throw energy. Allow me to reach the Sparkling Aura. I send back out Blastoise, win the charge attack priority. We are never going to know that second move, as Hydro Cannon from that range secures the knockout. The opposing Blastoise is going to need to reach a Skull Bash to win. However, they're in Hydro Cannon range, and we're able to take that game. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, once again, Bellossom facing off against G-Weezy. We've seen me play this one out before. We're going to bank a Leaf Blade before sending out Big Boy Blastoise. Quite surprised to see the opponent counter swap a Lapras, while rollout doesn't hit the hardest. They are super effective and will definitely add up over time. I'm confident I tank any one move. It looks like the opponent doesn't have the Bash. They then throw the next Sparkling Aura once again, which we're easily able to survive. And you can see the rollout damage is really starting to chunk. 2 Hydro Cannons with them residual rollouts will actually threaten the KO and potentially flip switch. We overfarm ever so slightly, ensuring we've got a slight bit of residual energy, looking to force G-Weezy's energy when they return. The opponent invests the Protect Shield, however Blastoise will not be denied, reaches one final charge move, forcing the opponent all shields down. I'm going to send out Bellossom. I'm going to throw this Leaf Blade instantly. The opponent does have the potential to catch, which they do, but that's fine. That sets up the alignment that I want. As Switch took them a turn, I'm even able to save Bellossom at almost full health and not have to shield a Sludge or even take massive damage. We send out Lapras. I've got a 2-0 shield advantage. I'm going to shield up one Sludge. Sparkling Aura is the better DPE move, but Ice Beam does ever so slightly more. So I'm going to fire off the Ice Beam, looking to force a knockout. Ice Beam does pick up the knockout. Out comes Gator, and already Bellossom looking primed to clean up. Lapras can tank any one move. The opponent fire off the Crunch, revealing they don't even have Ice Beam. The opponent then go for the Wham Bam combo play back into Lapras. We shield at the Ice Beam, we're going to Bullet Seed farm down, leaving with the Leaf Blade. The opponent recognise the game's over and they concede the match. The win streak goes to 12, and in the next battle we see a fantastic lead. The opponent say switches into Drifblim and things all seem to be going well. I think Drifblim users love debate. We're going to look to call the Icy Wind and instantly get Shadow Ball to the face, putting me in a very difficult spot. You can see the buff to Hex as well means potentially I'm going to get farmed down. I force in the Ice Beam. Arguably should have went double Hydro Cannon and I've instantly put myself in a very problematic spot. I haven't got Switch, but Switch advantage isn't all that important as both Lapras and Bellossom are pretty advantageous into that Unova Stunfisk. The opponent fire off a Shadow Ball. I'm unwilling to shield. We fire off the Sparkling Aura, then get the Psywave farm down. Back out comes Stunfisk. I'm going to farm up and look to make the catch back onto Bellossom, which we do, and even sneak a Bullet Seed. This now means Bellossom has an energy lead and a shield advantage. Out comes Avalugg running Ice Fang. These Ice Fangs are going to shred through my HP. Can Bellossom output enough damage to remove this thing from the field of play? You can see they're easily able to survive 2 Leaf Blades. Despite me being a Shadow, the next one, force the Protect Shield. Can we reach one more? Unfortunately, we don't get DRE, and I think the win streak's about to come to an end. I am going to shield, fearful of a potential crunch. The opponent, of course, go for the Icy Wind. Now we're debuffed. If Leaf Blade didn't do much, a debuff Sparkling Aura certainly isn't going to pick up the knockout. There's no point shielding this. If it's an Icy Wind, we actually survive. We're now double debuffed, so when Stunfisk does return, this Sparkling Aura simply will not get the job done, and the win streak ends at 12. GG's to that opponent, and very well played. Of course, if I would have maintained alignment, it would have been a great spot, but I wasn't able to do that. Heading into the next battle, we see Dusknoir in the lead. Both Dusknoir and Bellossom have one thing in common, the fact they're insanely spammy. The Shadow Punch and Leaf Blade are reached at the same speed. It takes 3 quick moves to the first 3 and only 2 to the next, or 9 turns then 6. However, as the opponent threw the Dynamic Punch the first time, I know I'm able to outpace 2 the back-to-back Leaf Blades. I obtain my shield advantage and send out Blastoise. I have more or less used Lapras as my save switch, but of course Lapras would take super effective from the Dynamic Punch, which once again the opponent YOLOs. Blastoise of course doesn't take super effective from fighting. The opponent then send out Cradily. We're able to land the Ice Beam. The opponent then overfarms, end up playing to the CMP tie. They do not win. Shout out the GOAT Homesize Henry for that famous quote. Hydro Cannon forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and we now once again got a 2-0 shield advantage. As spammy as Bellossom is, unfortunately, the opponent's only 2 Bullet Seeds off their Rock Tomb, and I'm free off the Leaf Blade. I'm actually going to shield this up, because I don't think I can Psywave farming down before the next Rock Tomb's reached. I don't want to be debuffed with no way of resetting it. The opponent gives up switch, sending out G-Weezy, we bank our energy and Lapras hits the field of play. I do like to think of my channel as the home of Shadow Pokemon, so people can say I'm biased. However, I think the Shadow Weezing is so much better than the regular. The regular just doesn't have the damage output. You can see these sludges aren't doing all that much damage. We're going to fire off the Ice Beam, looking to obtain a knockout. The regular actually able to survive, but that's neither here nor there. The opponent about to deplete their energy. Bellossom with a shield to hide behind and residual energy will be good to go. The opponent actually attempt to snipe with a Hex. Dusknoir gets removed from the field of play with the Sparkling Aura. We are spamming the switch. Bellossom only 1 Bullet Seed off the double up. We throw that 1 Bullet Seed. The first Leaf Blade will be removing Cradily from the field of play. And when G-Weezy does return, they're also going to die to the next Leaf Blade. Bellossom, just such a spam monster. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle. Bellossom into Virizion. We're seeing this as a problematic Pokemon, and I'm sure a lot of people when they saw the team thought, what do you do against the Virizion? Well, we've managed to beat all the ones we've seen so far. Let's see if we can keep the win streak alive. The opponent fire off the Sacred Sword. As always, we're going to be disciplined, wait for the double kick to start, fire off the Dazzling Gleam. I think every single opponent has shielded this. You could potentially Leaf Blade bait here, but I have no intention of doing that. I think if the opponent called a Leaf Blade, I would probably cry. Again, we pause, waiting for the double kick. No double kick comes through. Out comes Lapras. We're going to fire off the Leaf Blade, bank the Dazzling Gleam, and catch the Sparkling Aura onto the mirror. The thought process on sending out Lapras, as opposed to Blastoise, is if the opponent doesn't have Skull Bash, I'm going to fully Psywave farm him down, and the combination of Psywaves and double Ice Beam will just knock out that Virizion. But unfortunately, that plan is very quickly going to get aborted, as the opponent does have Skull Bash. I'm going to farm up to 100 energy, fire off the Sparkling Aura, picking up the knockout. When Virizion does return, I'm going to throw 1 Psywave and the Ice Beam. In case that double kick knocks out, the double kick isn't quite lethal, so we go for the wham, bam, combo play, fire off the Dazzling Gleam, putting them into the red health range. We then attempt to throw the Leaf Blade. The opponent makes a catch onto Gliscor. Very nice catch, but this game should still be in the bag. The opponent does get a very nice sand attack farm down. We're going to send out big boy Blastoise. The opponent has no reason to bait, but I'm never shielding this move. I am going to save it for the potential Leaf Blade. The opponent fire off the Earthquake. We're going to throw 3 rollouts. Fire off the Hydro Cannon. At this point, we are doubled up. Blastoise will be losing CMP to Virizion with a move bank. They're in Hydro Cannon range. We're going to make the catch, return the favour. The opponent made a nice catch. 1 for 1. This now enables me to actually throw the Ice Beam. Was it necessary? Probably not. We're going to throw it anyway and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Gliscor in the lead. That is one tiny Gliscor. Well, not the Bellossom Tour, because this thing is tiny as well. Much like we did, I think, in the very first battle. We're going to throw the Leaf Blade for some very nice chip action and then send out Lapras. It's fantastic for me that the opponent is opting to dump energy. They throw the X-Scissor, force some chip action and then send out Clefable. I think in this matchup, you're really going to see just how overpowered Lapras is. The combination of Psywave and Sparkling Aura is just so oppressive in type-neutral matchups. If you pair that with Lapras' huge bulk, we're even able to survive the Moonblast. I'm then going to fire off the next Sparkling Aura, anticipating this knocking out. However, you can see Clefable also pretty bulky, and it ends up in a Simul KO. We now find ourselves in the guessing game, but I've got 2 relatively full health Pokemon, whereas the Gliscor is very severely chipped. Gliscor re-enters the arena. Unfortunately, I did opt to send out Bellossom. I am going to invest the first Protect Shield, blocking up the X-Scissor, and I'm going to throw 3 Bullet Seeds. Fire off this Leaf Blade. The opponent now has an X-Scissor. I know I'm going to lose CMP, so we pivot into Blastoise, making the catch and sneaking the rollout in the process. Once again, we deplete the opponent of their energy. The opponent sends out Golurk, and this game looks signed, sealed, and delivered. We fire off the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent's going to throw a very nice timing on the charge attack priority. Blastoise, of course, easy going to get knocked out as we're deep in the red. I'm going to send out Bellossom. Leaf Blade probably knocks out from here, but I can afford to overfarm. I'm going to shield the Shadow Punch. I overfarm, fire off the Leaf Blade. This should certainly be Leaf Blade range. As it's Shadow and Shadow Crime, Leaf Blade picks up the knockout. When Gliscor does return, we're going to force in the Dazzling Gleam just because I've got the energy. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see the Kentucky Fried Chicken, a Bird of Death. Well, that's a yikes lead. We're going to throw 1 Bullet Seed, transfer the Incinerate onto Lapras, and out comes Licky, far too thicky. These normal type rollout users like Milk Tank and Lickitung, or Licky I should say, are kind of missing in action this season. They are certainly feeling the nerf on rollout with that inability to farm stuff down. I'm going to throw this Ice Beam on the CMP tie, hoping to flip switch. I actually didn't know that we lost CMP here, and I'm kind of surprised as Lickitung doesn't have a very good attack stat. I was actually so surprised with this. I looked up on PvPoke after this battle. Lickitung with PvP IVs should lose to my Lapras, as my Lapras has some attack. Of course, it's only level 41, so the opponent must be running a slight attack weight there. Unfortunately, we're unable to flip switch, but the opponent wins switch advantage, then give it straight up, sending out Talonflame. Blastoise hits the field of play, forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. Blastoise taking so little fast move pressure from these Incinerates. We're going to shield it to fly, throw 1 further rollout, and the Hydro Cannon. If this Hydro Cannon forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, which it does, I'm going to trust Bellossom to clean up. The opponent's deep in the red, so they're probably in Leaf Blade range, although Leaf Blade is double resisted. The opponent pivot out into Giratina. You can see I'm desperately trying to sneak a move. We end up capping on energy, which is very awkward. So I'm now going to have to throw this move instantly. There's no point throwing a Bullet Seed. First, it does nothing. I'm not going to receive any energy either. I know Lickitung has a move bank, so with that in mind, I'm just going to tank this damage. I'm unsure if on a 4 or 5 cycle, so I'm just going to throw this on alignment, meaning we won't tank that Shadow Claw, and we save our shield intact. Back out comes Licky, far too thicky. We know they've got a move bank. Can we Bullet Seed farm down? Yes, we can. We're going to throw 1 further Bullet Seed. Leaf Blade double resisted, Dazzling Gleam only single resisted, and Bellossom is a Talonflame counter confirmed. Somewhat dicey, but we get the job done. GG's to that opponent. Bellossom ends up sweeping the back line in the final battle. Honestly, I think people are sleeping on Shadow Bellossom. That Leaf Blade spam and access to Dazzling Gleam now at a fairly quick rate makes it a phenomenal core breaker and such a strong anti-meta pick, despite being ranked very low on PvPoke. You can see throughout this video, it has so many targets that it is just feasting on. If you've got one of these, power it up and it will not let you down. I think I was able to go like 21 and 4 overall, which is kind of mad. However, if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. A link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.